gives plenty of thought to the Derby. He's down there amongst that sun-drenched mob. Hank?
All right, and I'm getting a lot of attention right now. I think it's for me. Actually, Rosemary Homeister Jr., who will run ride Super Blitz. And Rosemary, what about all this week and what you've been through? Talk about it a little bit.
It's been very exciting, and I just first want to thank Mr. Busch and BB Stables and Manny Tortora for giving me the chance to be here and to ride Super Blitz in the Kentucky Derby.
Now, your first race at Churchill Downs will be the Kentucky Derby, is that right?
Yes.
What do you know about the racetrack?
Well, breezing over it and galloping over it this whole week. It's a little bit fast, but my horse seemed to handle it perfectly. Nothing seemed to faze him. He worked on Tuesday morning a half a mile, and he went 46 and 4 pretty handily.
He's a closer, no question about that. And so far today, horses have been doing pretty well coming from behind. Here is his race against Dynaver, where he comes from back. And Dynaver is so highly regarded, and he's making up ground here. In fact, in the Florida Derby, he almost finished second on a speed-favoring track.
Yes, he ran a spectacular race in the Florida Derby. And actually, the reason I think he would have been second or third in that race, but he came up with a lung infection, we found out later. And running against Dynaver, I mean, he ran such a great race. He had a sweeping move around the turn, and actually we were moving together, and he got ahead in front of him at the 8th pole, and Dynaver just re-broke. And my horse never quit. He just got outrun that day.
How about the one post? What has Manny Tortora, your trainer, said about breaking out of the one hole here?
Well, Manny Tortora is very positive, and I'm very positive, and I think it's the shortest way home. And since there is a scratch in the race, we move out one more post position, so we're actually in the 2 hole. So that gives me a little bit more of a straight run instead of having to swerve around the little curve coming out of the direct 1 hole in there.
One last thing. How excited are you going to be in the gate?
I'm going to be very excited. But, you know, I'm going to be more excited walking out of that tunnel when I hear the fans screaming, because this is the best day in racing. And I love you all. You guys are here. We're here. And you guys make racing more exciting than anything in the world. Thank you.
Rosemary, thanks so much. All the best to you.
Thank you, Hank.
Have a good, safe, and productive trip out there.
Thank you.
All right, fellas.
Hank, she's been having a great time in the mornings over here posing with pictures. Only the 5th woman jockey to ride in the Kentucky Derby. Julie Crone, the most recent 8 years ago. You can tell she's the most pumped up jockey, I'll tell you that.
And you don't see many Rosemary Homeister Jr. I mean, you don't see many females with a junior at the end of their name. That's because her mother was also a jockey and is now a trainer. And statistically in racing, that's how they differentiate between Rosemary Homeister, the mother, and Rosemary, the daughter.
She feels good about her long shot. Super Blitz, a horse they tried to sell twice this year, had no takers. Wouldn't that be a story if Super Blitz would get a piece of the Derby? We'll come back, more live racing ahead. If Randy Moss had his choice, he'd be watching these things from the blimp. It's a great vantage point, and of course the aerial views are courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and its fleet of airships, reminding you to take all of life's journeys on the wings of Goodyear. We shift the focus back to Empire Maker, the favorite, but not a very short price favorite. More on that in just a second. He has, of course, the regal bloodlines, and usually in these Derby horses, most of the attention goes to the sire. And in this case, the sire is very accomplished, unbridled, who won the Derby back in 1990 and sired the 1996 Derby winner Grindstone. But the dam of Empire Maker also very interesting. Tussaud won about $500,000 on the track, but it's her temperament that might be more noteworthy even than her talent. Let's take a look at her.
Tussaud, the grand dam of them all, she definitely was one of the most talented fillies I ever rode, and trained by Bobby Frankel. She was difficult in the morning. She was full of perks.
Well, every morning she made my stomach turn, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what to expect. We'd send her out with a pony, and we'd jog her the wrong way, and she'd stop. So I go, oh my God, what do I got here, you know? She broke one of my exercise boys' nose one day. She, you know, with her head, she backed up and hit him right in the face.
I hate the word temperamental being used to describe her, because she is far more eccentric than she is temperamental, and she is the sweetest mare to be around, but she is also one of the strongest-willed horses I have ever been around, and I think that's what drove Bobby crazy when he was training her.
I remember one time when I went to riding her, I gave her a couple backhand encouragements, and she cocked her head, and I know. She said, if you touch me one more time, buddy, you're going to be chewing on grass.
And at the end of her career, the prince asked me, is she sound? I said, she's very sound. He says, you want to keep her in training? I said, please take her home, because I cannot go through another year like this.
Well, we've got a special barn that has been designed to accommodate her. Some days we try to bring her in one door and she just says, no, I'm not going in, and then you open up the other door and she walks right in. If we have an extremely cold winter, we can close the doors and we have an insulated barn that we can heat. If it's excessively warm in the summertime, we can air condition the barn. Liz the goat was a companion that we got to keep her company. Tusaw clicks her fingers, everybody is standing outside of her stall immediately. And she's earned it.
Her siblings are just exactly the same.
Chester House was obviously her first foal, but it really always comes down to the temperament. They all have her temperament, just the way they look at you and the way they turn their head at you.
The second one was Honest Lady. Now, she was difficult. She wouldn't go off.
Honest Lady was Tusaw's twin. They were exactly the same.
She just wouldn't go off and gallop and be a normal horse, you know.
Empire Maker then came on, and he was a ham. He wasn't a dominant horse in the paddock, but he used to follow around all the others, you know, ho-hum, and just a happy horse. And from the time we broke him here on the farm and put him into training, he'd goof around a little bit.
And with this colt here, Empire Maker, you back him up and turn him around, he don't like it. He tries to, he'll make the gap and do anything, you know. Definitely off from Tusaw. He's not the type of horse you want to rough up. You just better let him make up his mind and he'll do it. If you start roughing him up, you're going to get into a war, you know? I think it's destiny with this horse. I really feel it, you know? And I'm not scared to talk about it. I'm not superstitious about it. I am superstitious about certain things, but I'm not scared to say it about him, to be honest with you. Tusaw foals this colt when Aptitude's running in the Derby. And Aptitude was second, so it's like they just waited for this one to win the Derby for me and for Judgment Farm. So maybe just let Karma, just please, let it happen, you know? Just let it happen.
That's a delightful side of Frankel, the flip side of what we saw this morning. When he wants to show that it can be great, maybe it's justice. He trained Tusaw, all the trouble she gave him. Maybe one of her sons wins the Derby for him.
And you know what? Frankel is known for being a little temperamental at times, occasionally, but he is also an incredible softie. And I guarantee you, I promise you, if Empire Maker wins the Derby, there will be tears from Frankel.
Well, it is a great story. I mean, Tusaw, kind of the pampered diva, and all eyes are going to be on Empire Maker when he comes in the paddock, when he comes near the starting gate, because there have been some incidents in the past. They say he's schooling okay and the temperament isn't an issue, but in front of this kind of crowd, it's always something to watch, isn't it?
When you're the Derby favorite, you are under a microscope. I mean, we saw it with Fusaichi Pegasus, we saw it with Point Gibbon, and let's chronicle what's exactly happened with Empire Maker this week. This was Tuesday now. He bruised a foot in the Wood Memorial 3 weeks ago. He re-aggravated it in a jog on Tuesday, and you can see there he is noticeably limping. Headlines all across the United States of America.
Basically what we're dealing
Empire
with
Maker
is a
sore.
small blood.
Now, this is yesterday morning, and this was his first time back to the racetrack in about a day or so, and he was just fresh. He was excited to get back to the races, to the track. He had missed it for a day. He didn't have his pony with him typically, so he veered out like that and got very playful. This morning, it's kind of hard to see. It was in the dark, but Frankel very pleased with what he saw. Empire Maker galloped straight as a string, no antics, came off the racetrack walking very soundly, and all that is what's led to Frankel's confidence in Empire Maker this afternoon.
Extremely confident this morning.
Very much so, yes.
Kicked their hind quarters.
Yeah.
Empire Maker trying to create a little history, some firsts here. The first to win the Florida Derby, Wood and Kentucky Derby. The first millionaire to win the Derby. Four-legged millionaire. Every year the two-legged millionaires win the Derbies, trainers and jockeys, but no horse with $1 million in earnings coming in has won. And the two Frankel horses, Empire Maker and Peace Rules, the only two with that earnings mark going in.
You see 4 Eclipse Awards for Juddmonte, 4 for Frankel, 6 for Jerry Bailey, so 14 Eclipse Awards in all from the connections.
We talked about the odds, and that continues to be a story we're going to follow this afternoon. The 6-5 morning line favorite was 4-1 a second ago. As you see the current odds on the right, that's going to change. There's a lot more money going to come into this win pool before Derby post time. But that is a surprise at 4-1. There's almost $6 million in that win pool, and people are not really giving Empire Maker a lot of support at all.
Those who decided they weren't going to bet Empire Maker because he was going to be too short of a price now may be calling it audible.
10 most wanted, slightly bet down. Hank, you're always paying attention to this stuff. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does. I really thought that he'd be 8 or 9 to 5. I think the public has overreacted to the injury stories, and I don't think this horse runs if he's not right. That wouldn't be Frankel's nature, but I say that this horse is the best horse I've seen this spring. If he's right, he wins. If he's not right, he doesn't hit the board. So you might want to consider an alternate betting strategy just in case the horse isn't right. But I think Frankel has brought him along beautifully, and he has that explosion, that move in the Florida Derby. That's the kind of move that wins Kentucky Derbies.
I know you've been touting Empire Maker since December. Alternate betting strategy might be get a trifecta ticket with not including the favorite. There is Prince Khalid Abdullah, Owen Tussaud.
From Saudi Arabia, Saudi princes have won 4 of the last 6 Triple Crown races, and here we are again.
Juddmonte is a powerhouse. The Paddock Packs. Talk more Derby ahead. Plenty of predictions still about, and 3 more live races before we say goodbye. And welcome once again to our Kentucky Derby special presented by Visa. Always plenty of musical text here at the Derby. You got Meatloaf and Slash and NSYNC. They are very enthusiastic. I'm not sure the most knowledgeable. I heard him interview yesterday, but hey, they have a good time, and that's what it's all about. Well, we saw in our first live race, at least on this ESPN part of the program, the, quote, second string horse for Todd Pletcher win the Three Chimneys Juvenile. As we go back to the Derby, that's been kind of, I don't want to say a trend, but it hasn't been unheard of. They have horses like Charismatic and Real Quiet, kind of the other horse of a big-name trainer win a Derby.
And there's a long history of that in the Kentucky Derby. It goes all the way back, actually, to the very first Triple Crown winner, Sir Barton, 1919. His stablemate, Billy Kelly, had won like 16 out of 19 career starts, and Sir Barton had been a maiden going in, and Sir Barton won that Derby. There's only one reason why it happens: bad handicapping. Charismatic and Cat Thief, for example, in 1999. Cat Thief got all the attention. Charismatic almost ignored. When you go back on paper now and you look at those 2 horses, Charismatic should have gotten more attention than Cat Thief going into that Derby, but he didn't.
And Bob Baffert's really spent all of Derby week talking up Real Quiet. He just couldn't get anybody make any noise about the horse.
Right. Indian Charlie was in the same race, and he got most of the attention coming out of the Santa Anita Derby. He had defeated Real Quiet in the Santa Anita Derby, but Real Quiet, as the Preakness showed, as the Belmont showed, and later races, was the better horse.
Baffert had lots of 3-year-old depth, but it all kind of evaporated. So Bobby Frankel is the trainer with 2 horses in the Derby, and Peace Rules, an accomplished piece, $1 million earner already, but no one really talking about Peace Rules. And frankly, that's because Bobby has said that Peace Rules can't beat his #1 horse. Can't beat that horse,
that's what he said this morning. Yeah. Someone asked Bobby, you know, well, so what about Peace Rules, Bobby? And he was in a feisty mood. He was all over the Empire Maker. And he was very blunt. You know, he can't outrun Empire Maker.
He outran the folks in Louisiana Derby, though.
He did, and he did it with a slightly stalking trip. Maybe a half length behind, as opposed to the Bluegrass, in which he went wire to wire. In the Louisiana Derby, he set just off of Funny Side to his outside, went past him, pulled away to win. That's the kind of trip that Frankel is hoping to get with the horse today. He's worried, though, about the 1.25 miles.
Went to the Bluegrass, won that well. A nice battle with Brancusi, but it's been quite a while, more than a decade, since a Bluegrass winner went on to win the Derby. So that doesn't necessarily mean good things.
Right. In Harlan's Holiday, a good example last year. He was the favorite in Ramport.
Let's go back to the barn area now. Kurt Hoover.
Thanks, guys. We've got Patrick Biancone here, who sends out Brancusi, who ran second in the Bluegrass. And Patrick, your first time at the Kentucky Derby with a starter. How are you holding up among all the hubbub back here?
I think it's doing good. You know, we have to finish and make sure the details are really resolved, and I'm feeling good now.
You were beaten by Peace Rules in the Bluegrass, but I thought your horse ran well, and he seems to be improving with each start.
Yeah, we prepare him for that. You know, I take the gamble to try to make him peak for the 3rd of May. We've seen a few hours that was right, but I mean, the horse is well, he's sound. Everything has been well with him in the last 3 weeks, but I think it's very important. And so far, so good. We see in a few minutes, a few hours.
Your first time at the Derby, and your jockey, Tony Farina, young rider, his first time at the Derby. Any concerns about his inexperience in a big race like this?
I guess they were asking the same question to Les Barrera before I firm win, you know, and you know, you have 2 ways to go, or you take a very talented and recognized jockey with a lot of experience, what I would like to have too, but we decide, Michael Tabor we have a long discussion about this. Tony don't have no experience in the Derby, certainly, but on the other hand, he have more experience with this horse than nobody else. Everything have been right, everything we have asked him to do before today have been right. Why not going? And you know, in the life of a jockey or life of a trainer, one horse make all your life, make all the difference, but hopefully this one.
Patrick, when I came back this morning, it was pretty dark back here. The lights weren't on, kind of dim back here. Did you get light turned on and things brightened up back here for Brancusi?
Maybe the sign, they put the light now. Maybe the sign.
Patrick, thanks a lot. Good luck in your first Derby.
Thank you.
Patrick Biancone, Tony Farina, and Brancusi all back here for the first time. Guys?
He's been training about 75 miles away at Keeneland. Randy, you were kind of back there when you arrived this morning.
Yeah, when he came into from Keeneland this morning, as Kurt just sort of alluded to, Brancusi's stall did not have a light bulb. It was completely dark, and he was walking around asking people where he could find light bulbs. The dark horse is in the dark, is what he was saying, but I'm glad he's found one now.
We'll see if the late bloomer with 1 win and 7 starts can blossom big time for the Magnifique Surprise at the Kentucky Derby with some chapeaux. So that's about all the French I know. Don't worry, we'll be back.
This ESPN presentation of the Kentucky Derby Special is brought to you by Citgo. We know you. By Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown. By Budweiser, the best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. By Claiborne Farm, where champions began. By Diamond Cut Jeans. Try a pair. They just fit better. And by Plateau Herbicide from BASF. We make Bermuda grass hay better.
Another reminder, the Blazers and Mavericks best-of-7 first-round NBA series going to the wire. The decisive Game 7 on ABC Sports tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time. See a great look at the Twin Spires. All the atmosphere, the electricity of Derby Day really is a chance of a lifetime for the connections to wait and hope that you somehow get a Derby horse. And Mike Tomlinson was a trainer who had a Derby horse. He's right there in the middle. Sir Cherokee, a horse that was given no chance to win the Arkansas Derby. Went off at 55-1. Pulled the big upset. Had been training well. Headed to the Kentucky Derby until an injury was discovered this week. It's not a career-threatening injury, but it is a fracture that's going to keep him out 3 or 4 months. And Mike Tomlinson, the emotions of that disappointment evident at a press conference yesterday morning.
It's tough to get your foot in the door and then get squeezed out, you know, but this is not a game for guys in short pants. And these type things happen all the time. And I'm not the first, and I won't be the last.
If you think it's just a business, check those emotions when he realized that he may never have a Kentucky Derby starter. That may have been the one and only chance for Thomas. So we hope not, but it may be.
Right, like we said yesterday, a Bob Baffert or a Dwayne Lucas and multitudes of Derby starters through their careers. But for a small guy like Mike Tomlinson, sometimes one shot's all they're going to get. Let's hope that's not the case.
It would be a small, albeit small, piece of consolation if Tomlinson can win our next race. It is the Citgo Distaff Turf Mile, a very self-explanatory title to this race with great tradition on the Derby undercard.
And we have a field of 12 in this race. The favorite, number 5, Dedication, trained by Christophe Clement. Second favorite, number 4, Heat Hayes, a Bobby Frankel horse. 2-1 on Dedication, 3-1 on Heat Hayes. Love Talking there at the bottom. Number 6 was the horse trained by Tomlinson.
At 23-1, so a long shot.
Rounding out the field there, the other horses, including number 11, Quick Tip, owned by Kentuckian Will Farish, and straight from Texas, ridden by Pat Day.
Very accomplished Eurobreds. In fact, last year's winner, Stylish, could not get into this field. Was also eligible, but couldn't get in there. And there is Heat Hayes, the Frankel trainee. And I don't know if this portends for this race of the Derby, but Bobby, another big day.
Oh, sure. We've already seen him win the Churchill Downs Handicap with Aldebaran. Heat Hayes is a horse that has had only 2 starts in the United States, and she won them both at Santa Anita. Going 6.5 furlongs down the hill. This race is a mile, but it's not going to be any problem. She's gone a mile before. And Heat Hayes, owned by Juddmonte Farm. Those are the same silks, those pink and lime green silks that Empire Maker will carry in the Kentucky Derby, of course. Heat Hayes, there's certainly nothing to knock on her. She's 4 for 8 lifetime, and Heat Hayes will be ridden by Jose Valdivia Jr., and there's Jose right there.
2 for 2 under Frankel. Those Santa Anita sprints he talked about. Did hook up with Dedication. The number 5 horse will start next year in this race at a Group 1 race at Longchamp in France. Very competitive event. Jeannie, what do you think?
Well, I agree. I think Heat Hayes is the one to beat in here. It looks like Bobby Frankel just may pick up another stakes win, but I also like number 5, Dedication. She's trained by Christophe Clement, who, of course, excels at training turf runners. He imports a lot of horses from Europe, and this filly is no different. She is from France, where she was a Group 1 winner. in France last year. Now, she was imported to this country after facing some very tough competition in Europe. Turtle Bow, Zenda, Devious Indian, some Group 1 and Group 2 winners over there in France, and Dedication held her own against those fillies, very accomplished fillies. And Dedication and Heat Haze both seem to prefer this 1 mile distance. They are very accomplished at this distance, but perhaps most telling, Dedication's debut at Tampa Bay Downs in the Hillsborough was a troubled trip where she came flying from next to last to just get beat. So she'll be tough in here. Chris?
Beat in that race by Straight from Texas, the 12 horse in this race. She'll get Jerry Bailey for the first time. He has won the last 2 editions of the Distaff Turf Mile. We'll come back to Churchill Downs after this. And welcome back. Beautiful day. No chance of rain for Derby 129. But an excellent turf race next on the undercard. It's the 7th race in Churchill Downs program, Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. For his thoughts, back to Hank Goldberg.
Well, like everybody else, I like Heat Haze, but I want to point out Sentimental Value, number 8. This could be a paceless race. Sentimental Value should be close to or on the lead. Trained by Kristen Mulhall, whose father, Richard Mulhall, is the president of the Thoroughbred Corporation. She's a young trainer, and she's a good young trainer, guys.
This horse drops back down to a mile, which, if you look at the form, seems to be the better distance for her.
Not all of us like Heat Haze, though. I like Dedication. I really do. I think Dedication deserves to be the favorite. Janine mentioned a lot of the reasons why, including the trouble in her last start. But here's another just like interesting angle. Jockey Jerry Bailey, the 2 trainers in racing that he is most closely associated with are Bobby Frankel, the trainer of Heat Haze, and Bill Mott, the trainer of number 7, Maliziosa. Mott's won the last 2 runnings of this race with Bailey in the saddle, but Bailey's riding for neither of those. Instead, he's riding the number 5 Dedication. I think that has to tell you something.
A couple contenders on the outside. The 11 is Quick Tip, ridden by Alvarado, a regular rider.
Quick Tip is very consistent, as I said earlier, owned by Will Farish, who is the master of Lanes End Farm and for Sales, also the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain. Boy, has he been busy over the last few years.
You know, Straight from Texas, which was a break from the outside, upset Dedication in Tampa. We talked about that. At 9-1, you don't give her a great chance of duplicating that with Pat Day aboard for the first time.
I think she's going to have to step up even more than she did last time when she won as a mild upset. Day's won this race twice, and of course this is his home course, but I think that horse is biting off a lot, especially from the 12-0 on the turf course with not that long of a run to the turn.
Yeah, that is tough. You're right. It's some trouble in the gate. Let's see who's acting up there. That's a lot of trouble.
Somebody is really acting up, and that would be the 6-horse Love Talking. Unfortunately, that's Mike Tomlinson's horse.
As the bad week continues, they'll take her out and see if they can settle her down.
Jockey John Court, you saw on the silks there, stood up on the starting gate to try to get out of the way, and what happens is when a horse thrashes around like that, they back out the horses on either side of it to make sure that they're okay. Court might be a little shaken up. It looks like he's trying to sort of shake the cobwebs out.
These are veteran racehorses. I mean, not a lot should rattle them, but see if John Court can bounce back.
And you don't see anything on Love Talkin's racing line that indicates any problems at the starting gate. Sometimes when you see a horse act up like that, you can just look back at the previous races and you can see all sorts of notations. But now they're going to have to check her out to make sure that she didn't hurt herself when she was doing all that in the gate.
Boy, when we talked about the Mike Tomlinson story and having to scratch her Cherokee, and this is his entry here.
Yeah, hard luck. The hard luck continues. And there's the track veterinarian. There is always a track vet stationed at the starting gate for every race, just in case of this, and he's going to check the horse out from every angle. Not only is this a big stakes race, but there is a lot of money bet all around the country on this day, and it doesn't look like.
We are told that Love Talkin, this 6-horse, will be scratched. So the terrible luck continues for Mike Tomlinson. Wow. They'll take a break, recollect, and come back and start the Citgo Distaff Turf Mile after this. But the 6-horse has been scratched. And welcome back to Churchill Downs. We're set to run the Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. I want to show you what happened just a few moments ago as they were loading in the gate. That was a potentially dangerous situation for the rider and for the horses as well. And the number 6 horse, Love Talking, you see in the left of your screen, thrashing about with John Court aboard her.
And there are 2 assistant starters trying to stabilize her as best they can, and it's not exactly a safe situation for them either. You see, when a 1,100-pound thoroughbred jumps around like that and throws her head and her body from side to side, a confined space like that is not the place to be.
John Court, although shaken up, was okay. Here's what he had to say about it.
Billy just got upset in the gate. She started throwing a fit and got a little fractious, and I guess she hurt herself enough that the veterinarian decided to scratch her. So better luck next time.
Yeah, she had taken a liking. She'd won a couple of races on this Churchill Downs turf course, the least experienced of the fillies and mares in this race, with only 6 previous starts. But again, the huge crowd here at Churchill Downs can sometimes have an impact on these horses that they haven't shown in previous races. Any other explanation you can think of?
With the horse, there's absolutely no way to know exactly what's in their head in a situation like that now.
So the bad luck does continue for Mike Tomlinson. The field to be reduced to 11 for this Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. Horses to look out for: Heat Hayes, the 4, and Dedication, the 5. Let's go to Luke Kreitbach for the call.
Presumed Innocent springs out on top to take the lead. Mimi's Tizzy on the far outside, flashing.
A little notice.
Came away through, then Baggage Stires racing 4 straight from Texas. Gains on the outside. Quick Tip up to the leading group. Then it's Salty.
Lost the call of Luke Kreitbach. That is the 1 horse Presumed Innocent on the lead, away for 3 lengths. You better take over, Randy. You're a hell of a lot more qualified.
Kenny Mayne and I have been through this before. Where's Kenny? We did this with the Gotham. That's Presumed Innocent on the lead. Bag of Stars is second right now. You see Mimi's Tizzy rallying just to the outside, or sitting in 3rd right now. And you just see it now, a shot from the blimp. You saw Heat Hayes, the number 4 horse, break slowly from the starting gate. She's back in the back of the pack right now under jockey Jose Valdivia. And now, as you see, as they begin to head into the turn, that's still Presumed Innocent in front. It's kind of hard to pick out the saddle towel numbers from this distance, from that vantage point from the blimp. We've got absolutely no shot at it. But you've got Presumed Innocent in front, Bag of Stars second. Now the far outside in the pink cap, that is Heat Hayes beginning to rally. The gray horse that's sort of in the middle of the pack there is Dedication, but Heat Hayes is rolling on the far outside there under Jose Valdivia. Looks like she's finishing the most strongly of all. Quick Tip is also right there to her inside. It's Heat Hayes, Quick Tip, Sentimental Value. Heat Hayes opens up, Quick Tip second, Sentimental Value 3rd, Dedication 4th, and a kiss from Jose Valdivia. That was terrible.
That wasn't bad, considering anything in a pinch. It's been an eventful Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. But Heat Hayes now 3 for 3 under Bobby Frankel. It took over her training this year. And Heat Hayes with the late move. Regular rider Jose Valdivia.
Let's hope Tom Durkin's Kentucky Derby goes smoother than that.
Hey, Bobby Frankel's day is going very smoothly so far. Another stakes score for the 3-time Eclipse winning trainer. You see him on the right there. We'll come back. It's a new stakes record. Just a 5th off the course record here at Churchill Downs. Back at Churchill Downs, Heat Hayes, owned by Prince Khalid Abdullah, trained by Bobby Frankel, the Empire Maker Connections, victorious Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. Let's go to Janine Edwards.
Well, I am here with the Citgo president and CEO. This is Osvaldo Contreras, and Citgo, of course, the proud sponsor of the Citgo Distaff Turf Mile. Some